One thing I've been thinking about lately is people that get really offended when you change your mind, as though you changing your mind is a personal betrayal to them, because in their heads, it somehow should have been approved by them first before you went ahead with the change. And I find this fascinating at just how personally offended friends and families can get when you dare to modify a decision for yourself in your own life without consulting them on matters that have nothing at all to do with them, really. But let's set aside the entitled attitude of some people. I would like to discuss why we hate changing our minds so much, whether it's in ourselves or when other people change their minds. I've been thinking about this because I have to admit that I've often resisted changing my own mind. But why? Well, when I think about why I tend to resist changing my own mind, I think about things like, 1, I like feeling certain. I feel confident when my opinion is consistent. And 2, I don't want to seem like a hypocrite or naive or stupid to other people. I don't want to look dumb in front of the tribe, right? 3, I found it very hard to even accept change internally sometimes. I just resist and can't be humble and say, yeah, I was wrong. So then what do? I double down to avoid the internal conflict, and I keep repeating yesterday's mantra, which ties into my 4th point, stubbornness. I admit I like the high I get from the stubborn confidence I feel in knowing what I know without having to even think about it. It's a warm, comforting feeling. For me, I guess the internal feeling is best described as the more a truth solved something critical in my life yesterday, the more I'll respect it into the future and lock it in a kind of sacred box that's always served me. Like a priceless Rembrandt stored in my personal vault, gaining value inside me, forever an investment. Never to be questioned or laughed at, and always protected. And even bragged about to others, like a product that never breaks. Look at this thing I have that's never let me down. And also, from a survival point of view, there's a sort of honouring of the old belief that saved me yesterday, like a debt I owe it. But in truth, the debt becomes a pair of comfortable handcuffs you never take off, because it's like never throwing away your lucky old t-shirt from high school when you looked good in it because of some sort of nostalgia. But now you're older and fatter and still insist it still looks good on you, even if you look like a strapped up Christmas ham. It may be time to change your mind. The reality is, you can honour something nostalgically in the past without using it right now. A few months ago, I announced that I'd gotten married. And holy shit, the amount of asthma pumps that came out as some people hyperventilated in the comments section. I mean, I expected some surprise, some comments, and some people unsubscribing. And that's fine, that's okay. You related to me one way yesterday, and today you don't. I get it. But the way some people felt personally betrayed by me and offended at a change I made in my life was very eye-opening for me. And a little surprising. Maybe I expected more from the same guys that claim not to have been understood by their exes or their parents and people in their own past when they came out with something personal and unexpected to other people, and hoped to be understood by the people around them and how they were shamed when they revealed something personal. But nonetheless, it got me thinking about our reaction to change, and especially changing our minds, both our internal resistance to change and when others around us change, and how we really don't like it. And then it hit me. We all love the feeling of certainty when we judge something or somebody to be true and forever and accurate in our definition of them. And the more intimate our relationship with them is, the more it hurts when they shatter our perceived view of them with who they actually are now in real time, in real life, now, not yesterday, not in our heads, but who they are telling you they are now. The example I want to give you is falling in love too quickly and being too certain about it. How many times have you been with someone you were attracted to at the start, and you were convinced that the person you were with at the beginning was the one, and you were in love, and as the honeymoon wore off, and then you realized that they weren't really the romantic delusion you felt they were at the beginning, but you can't accept it in your mind. You fight it. You ignore the red flags. You give them 523 chances because you don't want to change your mind about the certainty you decided that this person was back when you decided when you first met. All because you can't accept that you were wrong. And you cannot accept that it's okay to change your mind about this person, about what you thought was true yesterday, just because you can't say to yourself, I believed what I knew to be true before, and I must similarly believe what is true now. That is, believe what I see with my own eyes, even if today's evidence betrays yesterday's evidence. And I intentionally use the word betraying yesterday's certainty because it feels like we're disloyal to ourselves if we change a belief. And I think this is especially true of men who ascribe a huge value to consistent loyalty. One just has to look at how men are loyal to football teams their whole lives, or an old car uselessly rusting away in the garage. We find it hard to throw the past out, even ideas in the past, because here's the thing, we either believe our own eyes today, like we did yesterday, or we stop believing in ourselves altogether in real time as we move through life. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? That your ability to be okay with changing your mind today makes tomorrow more secure for you, not less. Now, if you like what you hear in this video, consider sharing it with someone you think it might interest. I know I could have used a conversation like this back when I felt I had no one to talk to. And finally, if you'd like to book my time for a private chat or join the channel or say thanks with a donation or super chat, there are links below this video. All right, let's get back to the topic. So I get that it's horrific to consider changing your mind after you've said the words I love you to somebody and have become serious with them, to decide to commit to someone, to build up a life in your head with them, show it to the world because everyone's going to see you out there with them. And you're so happy and certain at the time, and you're planning to move in together and talking about what dog you're going to have or how many kids you're going to have and their names, and then be faced with publicly having to dismantle that romantic skyscraper you've built in public. It's psychologically shattering. It lobotomizes you. It's very, very confronting, so much so that our brains don't want to look at it. Our brains won't even entertain the thoughts required to even consider the healthy change that's needed. We'll give chances to crappy relationships for way too long, play games around it, lie to others about how good our relationship is when it's really not, or roll our eyes when people see that you and your partner are fighting and you say things like, women, as though it doesn't bother you, or that everyone puts up with this because it's normal in relationships. And you'll do anything and everything except admit that there needs to be a talk and probably a change that's required. And it makes breakups harder because you can't face that your mind has changed and that you need to change your mind. And it's not just relationships, it's also groups online that people sign up for, wanting the group to last forever or jobs to last forever. Even if reality is saying to you, this isn't working for me anymore. Time to change, bud. But you won't. You refuse to internally. And here's another blind spot. People don't consider your self-esteem. You also start to doubt your own judgment if you can't change your mind because you're not comfortable in your own mind, but you refuse to change it in order to make it more comfortable. Do you see the demoralizing loop? And a cautionary warning to content creators out there. People are hooked on becoming a personal brand online today, where they make themselves as a human being into a business of sorts, where they must consistently stay the same to their viewers, never change their minds, and make exactly the same kinds of videos as what hooked the audience yesterday, forever. Keep doing it forever. To keep the likes coming in and the love coming in and the bad comments away, not to mention keeping the shame away. Put another way, an online personal brand resists change once you are seen by others in a certain way. In essence, you are now Pepsi to your audience, One very particular taste, one very particular color, one very specific slogan. And if you dare to change your personal brand with your audience, you'll have changed your perceived agreement with the customer who has a very specific relationship with you, as the same can of Pepsi coming off the production line every single week. And this is something I want to underscore about content creators, that if you make content and if you grow as a person, naturally change in your life as a human being, the consumer of you as a personal brand will hate you because you're not allowed to change the formula of you in their eyes, even if you really, really need to. You are not a person to them. You're a product that happens to look like a person. In conclusion, it's important to pause and change your mind, not to be rigid in your thoughts and beliefs. Otherwise, you'll learn nothing new. We'll never get better. We'll never get smarter. To never change our minds is to exist in the past, and proudly so, which is ridiculous. To never change your mind is to put clever verbal excuses over our quiet misery that we have to say to ourselves louder and louder while finding it hard to sleep at night. To never change our minds is to keep ourselves from new experiences. To never change our minds is to be loyal to past sayings. So, to me, as long as I'm not breaking an actual promise to an actual person in real life, changing my mind as often as is needed so that who I am now is consistent is what I try and live by. I refuse to force myself into yesterday's outfit that is too small, just because others are telling me what's in fashion. If I sacrifice changing my mind because of what others think, then I become the sacrifice. That's all I got for you today. Let me know your thoughts about changing your mind below in the comments, and later.